Just making sure. Sending data. All right, cool. So it looks like we are live. Yeah, so welcome back. Today we are continuing on the workflow tool. So yesterday we completely ripped out the Kanban system and replaced it with a new JSON based system that the Swift now just reflects. It doesn't actually build this on its own. So it's a lot faster to spin up, and it's a lot more accurate. It stays more accurate. And we're able to pull in this project and all project, or this workspace and all workspaces. So if you have two workspaces that you're working on, you've got one set of tasks going, and they can have their own thing. It could be code, and then the other workspace could be marketing, and you'll be able to see which one. This project only has one thing because the only thing in workspace 2 is the workflow. So I actually started this yesterday. We made some really sexy diagrams in Figma to kind of illustrate what's going on here. And basically, we're trying to just visualize what the workflow is. So you've got your Kanban columns, and then you've got where the agent roles sit and how the agent roles do their thing. And so we're basically rebuilding this. We kind of one-shot a really, 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 really shitty version. Really shitty version. And last night at like 2 a.m. I decided I wanted to rip it out and start over, because the whole drag and drop and thing and all that stuff that it had built out didn't really work. Nothing was snapping into columns. It was just kind of sitting on the canvas. It couldn't track if this was the first box and this is the second. It didn't know that information, even though visually it was there. So yeah, completely ripped it out. We've got the basics now. So I can click and drag and all that good stuff. Now we can have multiple boxes and containers. So that, I mean, this is like 2009, 2008, like jQuery UI stuff. But it's not jQuery. It's not JavaScript. It's still getting flickering. Interesting. Did like 2 or 3 rounds of bug fixes on this. It's all app. So we were using strictly Swift UI for everything. I don't know anything about Swift or app development, so I'm a designer. And so we actually not downgraded, but switched to AppKit for this, because the Swift UI drag and drop wasn't 100%, and it was forcing animations. So that's always fun. Does it do it? It is still kind of doing it. Anyway, so yeah, we're using the app kit for the drag and drop stuff, and now we don't have any animations, and it's a lot snappier. So anyway, that's what we're working on today. We need to get this. We need to fix this flickering. So let's just get a quick screen recording going on. That should be enough for Codex to understand. Okay, so the gold box and the container and the drawer and all that all look great. They are functioning as they should. However, I think it did reintroduce the flickering back. So review the screen recording and you can see that there are instances where the flickering can still happen with the placeholder ghost and the existing boxes. So go ahead and review the screen recording and the code to see where the flickering is happening this time. We had squashed this bug a couple times last night, and it was working fine, and then this latest round reintroduced it again. All right. So the next thing after that is we need to we ended up losing quite a bit of stuff. So the other thing that we had yesterday was being able to click on a agent and then being able to customize it. So we need to bring back that functionality. But I kind of want to wait on that until this can start producing the JSON files that match the workflows. The dash placeholder itself is getting registered as a drop target after each preview run. So yeah, we need to work on that. And then we also need to, there's still some stuff that we need to do on the Kanban side of things. So I'm actually going to, I need you to review the current status docs and the documentation around the ADE Kanban revamp and upgrade documents that we have. I believe we have completed phase 5, and we are currently working on building out the workflow system. But I want you to take a look at the Kanban system and prepare yourself to work on the Kanban task modal upgrade. Can I not open a new window? All right. In the older Mac shell, since Architect Pane plus multi-pane grid are closed task files, the current doc uses Kanban, specifically the agent history activity. Reviewed the recording. Okay, so you're saying your what are you? Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure where you are in the file understanding. Right now, I basically want you to, I believe, look at phase 6 where we're adding the modal. There isn't any modal now. And we're not talking about the context menu. That I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore. That was something from the past, and I believe we have ripped that out. As far as doing extra work, can you do that on a separate work tree to not disrupt the work that is currently happening with the drag and drop? I actually haven't done 2 Codex apps or 2 Codex sessions in this project, so I'm kind of scared what's going to happen. Reviewed the recording and found the likely flicker. So okay, so you're still saying you're done. Saying the context still this. What else is in here? Ask architect, view history, retry, create replacement, abandon task. Yeah, so you can actually start by stripping out all of the actions that are in that context menu. You can start ripping that out. Whatever is existing for the view history, that we can probably repurpose for this modal, and maybe that's the starting point. But don't rip out functionality around retrying, because that currently is a core feature of the Kanban board for failed tasks, and that will also be a part of the modal if it is a task that is failed. And then also, just to confirm, you are going to be doing this in a separate work tree to not interfere with the drag and drop, correct? So I can work on both. Uh, Workflow. I think that's as good as it's going to get. Correct. I'll do this in super working. The isolated. So the flicker looks like it is mostly gone, so this is good to go. We can go ahead and move forward. The next bit of information, or the next feature that we need to add, is the ability to delete a box. The name and number needs to be able to update what number we're on. So if I put 2 boxes into a column and then I delete the first box, the second box should update to a lower number, and then whenever I drag a new box onto it, it would become the correct number. It shouldn't skip numbers, but it should remember um, what color it is and what name it is. For now, change the blue boxes to builder and the gold boxes to QA as their names. See how it likes that. Also rename the blue type to builder and the gold type to QA with separate numbering preserved by type. Okay. That's good. Context menu's gone. Yeah, what else was in this thing? Ask architect. Okay. I got that. View history. What was in here? Validation on word count requirement. I don't know what 135 and 136 means. And I don't know what this error would have been. Okay, what else is in here? Retry, create replacement, and in task. Those will all go away. Okay, wiring the board action, invisible delete buttons on cards. The button will only appear on cards, include cards, and will compact numbering immediately after delete. Delete button is added. One across the 200 line ceiling. Okay. There was another thing I need to look at, I guess, while we wait. So I had I set up Hermes to do a bug check every night at like 3 a.m. Just with like a free model just to find stuff. So this will be I want to read what it's coming up with and then see if there is some optimizations that we can do, even if they're like super low and maybe the hit rate's only like, I think I told it to find 30 things. Even if only like 5 of them do, it's free QA. So if the daemon crashes mid-merge, the lock remains held by PID or token forever since no OS-backed locked Windows cleanup. That sounds important. Box critical. Okay, you're done. You're still working. I don't know how this is going to work. I mean, that seems... I'd say that seems fine. Did this... Okay, so this hasn't done anything here. Okay, so next step for you. Okay, so the next thing that we need to work on then is we need to take a look at the workflow JSON file for the engineering template. And we need to start being able to generate a JSON file based off of the layout of the boxes and containers and columns inside of the workflow tab. So as I update it, a JSON file should also update. For now, let's keep everything in memory, and just add a text box area to the workflow tab that would show the JSON output. Like I said, we need to try to mimic the output of the existing engineering template JSON file. This I don't think is going to work. Confirmed and done in a separate work tree. Your active drag and drop work tree was left alone. Remove the Kanban right click context menu action. Purposed an old attempt history sheet into task details. Okay, so how does that modal, how do I view it? Do I just click on a task and then it launches the modal and I see the information? Or is there something else that I need to do? Is this branch or work tree open, or is it merged back to the workflow drag and drop branch? Don't do anything yet until you confirm. Okay, so we'll wait for this task to complete before we merge this. I don't think this is going to be very clean, though. We have, at a minimum, we got to wait for this. I don't know if merging it this backend is really going to be wise. Okay, so while we wait for this, we'll go. We need to figure out what the hell this thing's actually going to look like. Round 2. Right. I also need to finish up this Kanban. So yesterday we worked on this. We added in the sprites, but I don't know if I love it. Also need to. Okay, so I do have that being represented as a single. So I think I definitely want to add the sprites for the column headers. And then I think I'm going to remove them from... Maybe I can add it for just the hover state, but they'll always be on the... You still going. You're close though. Minuscule. Did I change you guys? I did. Okay, so that needs to get updated as well. Right. You have to be, you're constrained up there. You need to be down there. Why? Oh. Okay, that fixed that. You're good to go. Merge to the drag and drop branch. I don't think I want to do two things at once on this. This is with as much trouble as I'm having with the drag and drop. I think we're gonna have to stay on task with just one thing. I'll merge it carefully. First, I'll commit. So you're talking about this. Okay, task details, create, retry, create placement, close. Okay, create a new work tree branch, and then we need to make sure that the eye icon is on every task, whether it fails or is successful or not. Um, and then for all tasks, we need to show the full history of when they, uh, for the full life cycle of the workflow. So, if it was a successful one, then it obviously needs to have all the individual steps with all of the um, task informations from each role, and then along with the time and date. So it should be similar to what the failed information looks like now. And then the failed ones would just obviously focus on the failed stuff. It should also show the successful steps, but it just needs to be built out and be universal for all kinds of um, stages of the workflow, whether they're successful, in progress, or done correctly. We also need to include if there's any information around the um, whether or not they're published, merged, if the push failed, anything like that. So go ahead and update that in a new work tree branch. All right, and then workflow. Okay. So builder 1, builder 2, Twitch. Before, let's see, what would that be? Caramel? Caramel? What's up? Hey, how's it going? What am I building? So I'm building ADE system that has full orchestration between agents. So you can have as many agents as you want, or as many as your agent, or as many agents as your computer will handle, I guess would be the better way to say it. And then they all talk to each other through task system. And then that's the overview of the product. And then today we're working on adding in information about the task system. So being able to launch a modal and get a full history of it, which will be super helpful for things like failed ones, but also eventually for ones that were successful. And then we're also at the same time building out the workflow builder. So being able to say like the workflow here is this kind of thing. So that's what we're working on today. And then in the meantime, while these guys are cranking out code and stuff, we're working on the actual design. So this is what the app is going to actually look like. This is just the working prototype. Everything works, and then once we're in a place where everything is in and working and tested and hardened, then we'll reskin this to match the designs. So yeah, that's what we're working on. Right now, the workflow, this editor, I ripped it all out last night and started over at like 2 a.m. And so now we're just trying to get some basics going again. So let's... okay, so I need to tell the builder. I put in memory JSON preview for the workflow tab. It now adds a read-only JSON text area below the columns and above the drawer generated from current memory layout every time the board re-renders the preview in. Shape-wise, I mirrored the current daemon contract source as closely as it makes sense for the spike, top-level workflow template, blah, 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 blah. What do you got going on, Caramel? Let's see. Above. So attached is a screenshot of what I have in the workflow tab. And then I also attached the generated JSON that would, that was generated from the layout itself. I need you to review the code or review the JSON file so that review it and compare it against the engineering JSON file. Ignore the fact that the boxes say builder 1 and builder 2. Pretend that those are two different agent roles and pretend that the container represents the loop that the agents in the engineering template go through whenever the workflow is processing tasks. That's essentially what we're trying to mimic here. So do a review and then make any changes that we need to better match the format. Rooney, what's up, man? Welcome back. Welcome back. How's it going today? What am I working on? I can't remember. Were you here yesterday or was that the day before? But I guess in general, I'm working on building out the workflow editor. So we've got some drag and drop stuff going on. And this is supposed to represent the engineering workflow document. So we're trying to, right now there's a JSON file that got built that actually is this workflow as far as architect to builder to tester to QA. There's a JSON file that constructs all that and it ties directly into the Kanban system. The workflow system is supposed to be able to visually represent what that workflow looks like. And so we're in the early stages of getting that up and running. Chilling in between jobs at the moment. Heard that, man. Heard that. It's a tough market for sure. Isn't Claude Code super expensive? I had to switch due to how bad it got. I mean, I guess it depends on your financial situation. And I guess it also depends on like what you switch to. I mean, Claude Code versus Codex are basically the same price. But as far as switching to how bad it got, if you're talking about the quality of its output, or if you're talking about the pricing, hard to tell. But from a quality point of view, I was at the point that Claude was putting out some pretty bad stuff as well. And so then I switched to Codex, but now I feel like Codex is starting to put out some pretty bad stuff. And I'll probably, at my next billing cycle, I'll probably switch back to Claude. Okay, yeah, you're talking about quality. Yeah. Like I said, I think so 4.8 wasn't out yet whenever I was on Claude last. and I switched over to Codex, and Codex did a lot better and it was faster, but now Codex is starting to slow down. I think they've neutered it as well. And then, like I said, I'll probably switch back to Claude just to, yeah. Making an AI to find good music. Saw that you were building something too, so I'm going to take a look. Building an AI to find good music. Where do you want it to find music at? Like on Spotify or YouTube or what? I hate the lack of regulation over quality. 100%, man. I was talking to a friend last night, and I made the comment of like, as I mean, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 41, but as a millennial, like, yeah, I'm a millennial. As a millennial, like, we all have learned to hate live service video games. Like, what it's completely ruined things like Call of Duty. But for some reason, we're perfectly fine with live service for AI that literally is changing the entire world. Like, not even from just like a technology point of view, but like who has jobs, who doesn't have jobs, whose jobs are being replaced. What's the GDP of like, SpaceX owning XAI is going to be the largest IPO in history, and it goes live next week because of AI, obviously, and the space stuff. But AI as a live service, like, we're happy, we're fine with this. No, it's complete garbage. I really don't like that they're just like, oh, we released 17 releases today. Enjoy the frantic like upkeep. It's Tiki McFace. What's up, man? Interested in hearing what y'all say about the quality effectiveness. Yeah, like I was just saying, like, quality's all over the place. We pay, $100 a month or whatever for this thing, and then one day it's like completely fine and it's amazing and it's magic, and then the next day it's complete horseshit. Like, it's just, I'm not okay with everything being a live service. Carmel, are you a software engineer currently working? So I used to be a developer like 12, 13 years ago, and ran front end development teams, mainly on mobile whenever responsive web was really kicking off. And then I moved full time into creative director, and was responsible for like digital consulting and all creative work for a large software company or a tech firm. And then hired my replacement and then got laid off because of AI. So currently I am not working. If I'm working on this, I am working for you guys. The face is facing hard games. Tiki, the message got cut off, so I'm not 100% sure what the rest of it says. LLM as a service will die when local machines can be bought from Best Buy Micro Centers. Yeah. Well, so I was just telling the stream. I got Hermes up and running, the new desktop app, and so now I have it on a cron job that it just scans the database at like 3 a.m. every day now, and it'll just generate a. I think I said, like, go find me 30 bugs in the code base and 20 optimizations that we can make to make things faster. And so it just generates stuff now. This is from this one's from Grok, this one's from Hermes, using whatever the free model is in their portal. So even if only 5 of those are actually real bugs or real optimizations, so this gets fed into Codex and then it does a double check since it has all the context and stuff like that. So that's how that works. So, I mean, I think we're almost there as far as what you're talking about, what I think you're talking about. All right, so let's go ahead and merge this into the drag and drop branch so I can review it. I think Claude and Codex are solid options, but occasionally suffer from logic failures. Do you experience the same issue? Like define logic failures. Like what exactly do you mean? Like does it just where it writes terrible code or gets mixed up? Are you talking like linking that to hallucinations, or what do you mean with that? I will say I think at least whenever I had Claude last, I think Claude obeyed the directions and instructions that were inside of its Claude MD file better than Codex. But I would say that Codex has a better understanding of what I'm actually asking it, even if it's not following its instructions as well. I don't know if that helps what you mean, but that's my general thoughts. Okay, so that's now done. Now we can check those two things. Why an ADE anyway? Like, why am I building it? Mainly because just of keeping track of all of the terminal windows manually. Didn't really like doing that. And I'm doing it to where, so I have a workflow set up. Going back to what I was saying about how Codex doesn't follow its instructions. There's like workflow that it's supposed to build me. It's supposed to send all of the tasks to a builder agent, and then the builder agent does the work, and then it sends it back to the main agent, and then the main agent does the reviewing. Codex doesn't like following that rule, so the ADE kind of enforces that a little bit better. So then that way, the main agent's not reviewing its own code; it's reviewing what the builder built, and it's a lot. It's not as lenient and doesn't let things slide as much. So the ADE does that, but it takes it one step further where I can make the architect Codex, and then it hands it off to a Grok builder, and then it could hand it off to a Claude tester, and then it can hand it back off to a Grok QA agent. And so it's all through that. And that might be overkill for just like code. But I can. The other thing here is I could say I want the architect to be 5.5, and then I want the builder to be 5.3. So way cheaper and way faster than 5.5. And I could set that up across the board. The other thing is like I could use Codex, or I could use say Grok, for example, as my planning architect, and then I could have it send it to Codex 5.5, and then Codex can use its image generation tools to generate assets for me, besides just code, obviously. So I can set this up to where I can play to the strengths of each of the agents and their models. Okay, so if I click you, task created, builder success, tester, QA, report done, publication, published, promotion, not promoted. All right, and then if I look at a failed one, okay, so this looks good. Let's tell this dude. Okay, create a new work tree. The modal update looks good. We need to make sure that we include the names of the panel that it was built in, as well as the agent PID information. And then I also want to be able to click on any of the artifacts and view them the same way that I can click on artifacts inside of the view report process. So if it's not in the current work tree, but there's a temporary file available, then go ahead and it needs to be that same type of action. And I want to be able to collapse sections. So that if there's a main part of the workflow that was all successful, that should all be collapsed. And then on the step that is where it failed, then that should be not part of that collapse section. And then the report should also not be part of that collapse section. We also need to get rid of the there's another button in there. I think it says replace or something like that. That doesn't need to exist anymore. There should only be a retry button if the task failed. There doesn't need to be anything about abandoning or pausing or anything like that. It just should be a retry button if there is a failed task, and being able to close it. If the task is not complete or done, we should also have a button to cancel the task. And doing that should do the whole kickoff where it checks for dependencies and all that and queries the user to check for dependencies. Okay, so new work tree. Let's just tell it looks good. This looks good. Let's move to the next piece. Start with making another. Okay, and then we need to check the workflow. What did you actually say about the workflow? Reviewed against the actual engineering source and repo. There is no standalone engineering JSON file right now. That's not correct. What do you mean there is no standalone engineering JSON file? It should be in the hidden ADE file inside of each project as something that gets bundled with the app whenever the project is set up. I want to make sure that you're looking at the right files and not just making stuff up. You're right to challenge. I was looking at the daemons built-in runtime kind of, not the per project. And a state rather than. So far, the current track source does not contain a template JSON file in the install. The current hidden project files are prompt config scaffolding, not a workflow JSON artifact. I feel like there are tools that could be built that would help Codex wrap around your ADE. That file awareness loss and misunderstanding things sounds like prompt context flaw. Literally, I'm literally one line with you right now, coding my own AI agent that will watch your stream. Let's see who ships production for. I hope. I hope it's not you who ships first. But good luck. It definitely won't be me. I feel like there are tools that could be built that would help Codex wrap around your ADE. That file awareness loss and misunderstanding thing looks like prompt context flow. So I think what it's actually saying is, so this was something that we worked on yesterday, because as soon as it said this piece, but in the reverted workflow editor stream, there absolutely was a workflow template catalog that wrote hidden ADE files. Specifically, the reverted code wrote workspaces engineered workflow.json. This is what I was referencing. So yesterday, we built out this whole workflow thing, and I had it visually represent what this is, and I think we moved it to this this here, and I at like 2 a.m. I ripped it all out, and I guess I forgot that this was, so technically, because the whole system has a memory thing. The ADE has a memory system, and technically this instance of me working in Codex also ties into that memory system and a kind of band-aided approach. So I think that it just need to go back and look through an old branch that I pruned. Yeah, so this is exactly what I was thinking about. If we need to pause on the drag and drop functionality to restore this JSON flow, then that should be the thing that we work on next. Because that's what we're trying to mimic, is that JSON file's output that matches the current engineering template workflow. Rebuild it all. Yeah. So like yesterday, remember we made these beautiful diagrams, and I had it generate this in here, and it looked like shit, but it technically was right. But then whenever we started building out the ability to actually create a workflow, like this whole thing was just completely screwed. Like it was bad, like really, really bad. And so at like 1:30 last night, this morning, I started like dragging a box to like the in progress thing, and it ended up like all the way over here. And then you could like start to stack it, and it would be like, oh, this is builder 3, this is builder 4. But then whenever I asked it like what's the flow, it didn't understand that builder 3 was on top of builder 4. So I completely deleted 4 hours worth of work and then just started from scratch again. Like, and so I think you were here yesterday, like we did have the ability to you could like click on a tile, and then it brought up the modal, and then you could change the vendor and model that each role was doing. So that's completely gone and missing now. So we lost a bunch of stuff, but this is, I think, the more methodical and a correct approach. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. I'm definitely coping. Yes, that makes sense. I'm going to shift JSON preview away from the temporary. It's definitely a coping mechanism. It's not the first time. So whenever I first got into vibe coding, if we want to be cringe and call it that, like I did the thing that everybody did, and it was just like, ooh, I'm just gonna have AI build me a trading bot. Don't make trading bots. And it was linked to Kalshi and Polymarket. and I think I did like 7 different revisions of a trading bot, and it definitely got to the point of like this thing is not performing well. This thing is not performing well. This thing is underperforming. Both with real data and paper trading. And so then I would just like, fuck it, we're going back down to the studs, and then I would rebuild the entire system. I did that like 5 or 6, 7 times, and then I turned them all off. I think I made like $20 over the course of like a month and a half. So don't make trading bots. You will not win. Like, it took me an ungodly long amount of time to understand that, especially in prediction markets, the edge that you might have is whatever percentage the market actually says it is. So if it's like, will Bitcoin go up and it's 80%, you have an 80% edge, but so does everybody else. It's extremely unlikely that you're going to get anything more than that 80% edge, if that's the right way to think about it. All right, agreed and adjusted on the preview in that direction. Workflow tab, JSON now emits the old hidden workflow.json catalog shape instead of the temporary workflow template layout wrapper. It now produces top level fields like engineering, source, ADE, locked, architect, builder, tester, columns, groups. The in-memory container now maps to the old task loop group, and the cards inside it map. I don't know what the hell it just did. Quit. edev. Can you try to explain that in less technical terms? I'm not following what you did exactly. So did you create the JSON file for the engineering template that represents the current engineering workflow template, but it's not actually hooked up? Is that correct? What the hell is it talking about? Okay, but can you instead bring back the workspace folder inside of the hidden ADE file, similar to how we have the agents folder, so that that JSON file that represents the engineering template can live there, and I can take a look at the format of that? You need to generate the JSON file so that it represents it. Don't do any of the hookups yet. But this should have been a part of the optimizations that we did with the Kanban, where everything became JSON based. Fact. Uh, I thought that was in like phase 4 of the Kanban stuff, was that we moved all of that. Yeah, so to give more flavor to what the hell I'm actually talking about. So right now inside the dev, the way the projects work is you have an ADE file or folder that's hidden, kind of like how you have Claude and Codex, and your git ignore file, and then you've got agents, and then you have ADE, and then So the ADE agents are what comes shipped. So you've got, if I come in here and I look at this, I've got like this is the MD file that the I don't have it. I don't have it running. That the architect runs, and then I've got one for builder. I don't know. I don't know why I don't have one for QA. That there should be one for QA. I'm not sure why that doesn't exist. And then QA and tester and reporter, I think. So and then you can have, then the user can overwrite it, or not overwrite, but append to it. So you'll have, way it works is you'll have your architect MD file that gets shipped with, and then you'll get an empty agent MD file for the architect, and then you can add in all of your instructions that you want on top of that. So if you're like, do everything that the architect is supposed to do, and then I also want you to only write in German, then you could tell it that. So then workspaces will be similar, where here's the ADE, here's engineering, and then here's the workflow, and then it's got this that represents. What the fuck is this? Columns, roles, groups. Speaking of QA, I'd be happy to pair code with the stream to help build some of this out. I'm in a test loop at work right now and waiting for the agent set to generate experiment results. Happy to pair code with the stream. What does that mean? Help build some of this out. Deacon McFace, are you trying to steal my code? Does this JSON file also represent the all the pieces for, when tasks can fail, and how reports are handled and all that kind of stuff? Is that represented inside of this file? Oh yeah, no, it's just me and old Codex and or Claude, and Grok. Grok's been helping in the background now with Hermes. Well, so I'm running. What am I running? Um, so this is the Hermes thing. I won't show all of it, but so I've been the nightly QA runs through the free Step 3.7 Flash model. So that just runs every night, and that's free stuff. That's just free tokens or free compute, basically, at least for now, anyway. And that just gives me some findings, a bug report, and all that kind of stuff. Last night was the first night, so I haven't actually fed it into. I did a test run a couple days ago, like all manual, and where basically Codex then finds that file and then reads it in. And then it was just like, okay, out of these 30 bugs that it found, only like 7 are real ones, because it didn't have context on everything else. But then it went and fixed it. But so I mean, that was free bug fixing. So I've got that running, and I'm just going to continue to develop that as like a passive system. But no, there's no one else. It's just me. So this, the way my understanding, I'm very new to the Hermes stuff. I tried to install it like 10 different times and it never worked. So this is still running on. This is not running on my machine. It connects to Hermes agent portal or whatever. So it still goes out. It's not a local model, but I could run it as a local model. You can't. So right now you come in here and you can select, like if I select, it's basically just a harness. Like I can select Grok and I have it OAuth to my X account. I could run Grok and it would be just the same as if I was running the Grok CLI. But I do have to pay for that. So that's connected to my Grok account, or to my X account. But you can connect like Olama or something like that, and then run the models locally 100%. No. I'm on a M3 Pro with like 20 gigs of RAM or something like that. The goal is once I can figure this part out, I'll probably install. I'm gonna install it on my old, not my old. It's brand freaking new. I just haven't touched it in like 2 months. My Windows gaming machine. It's got a 5090 in it, and not a top of the line AMD like 9000 series. I think it's a 7000, like the X3D of like this version, this year's whatever AMD thing. I built it back in, I want to say like October, I think. October, November, maybe. So I want to just send it over there because right now it's just sitting there. It's been powered on for a month and I haven't touched it. So I'll probably offboard this Hermes stuff over to that machine and then have it just run at night. It doesn't matter if it ramps up to 100%, but it's got 64 gigs of RAM. It's got the 5090, got a good CPU. So I should be able to do that. Okay, partially not complete. Right now the JSON represents the workflow shape. So yes, it includes the broad pieces for where failures go, reporting loop is, role order, but it does not fully describe the rules yet. Yeah, so we need to go ahead and update that JSON file to represent all of that kind of stuff. Anything that happens in the current workflow of the baked-in engineering template needs to be represented by that JSON file. So anything that's hard-coded in could then eventually be replaced by this JSON file. So then that way, whenever we start doing custom templates that the user builds, they get that same functionality, and we can make sure that we have the tools in place for the user to be able to build their own templates to the same level that the engineering template currently has. What changed? Modal lifecycle includes panel name, ID, worker session, process, start time, and artifacts. Artifact buttons open report artifacts. Non-report open. Okay, so modal actions now retry for failed tasks, cancel tasks for unfinished tasks, and close. Cancel task routes through existing dependency impact confirmation flow. Okay, so we'll wait for this dude to finish, and then we'll merge this back in, and then that can be something that we test. Was there a new build update? Workflow transitions from architect. So that I don't know what this whole like style dashed garbage is. Okay, I see. Wait, so why is this going builder tester? I want you to add boxes to the workflow editor that represent all of the key pieces that we would need to visually represent the workflow from the engineering template JSON file. Obviously, don't include arrows and things like that. We can imply it by order. But add in different boxes for builders, QA, testing, architect, etc. To the drawer of available items, and then also add a button that copies the generated JSON code so that I can easily share it back and forth with you. I should have. so the edit stays tight. Go ahead and merge this into the drag and drop. Yeah, so Tiki, what do you do? You said you were some sort of architect or systems admin or something? What were you? Scrolling. Was it you? Or was that someone on the YouTubes? Maybe that was Rooney. Software engineer, a little over 13 years at this point. Nice. So, when you say software engineer, like back end, front end, all, full stack, what exactly do you do? What's your focus on? Yeah, tell me about it. Everybody wants full stack so they can reduce headcount, which is complete garbage. Like, that's not an insult to you, but like, everybody wants full stack, but then, like, whenever I was leading the front end team, and like, this isn't necessarily, I wouldn't say this is like a me stroking my own ego, but like, whenever I ran our front end team, I say our, it's not mine anymore. When I ran the front end team at the company I was at, like, it was probably one of the best crew of front end developers, like super creative, out of the box thinking to solve problems. Like, there was no problem writing okay, we can't do this because it's not part of the system. Okay, well, let's cobble together a solution based off of, JavaScript or CSS even. We'll do it that way versus, changing core Magento functionality or something like that. And then after I left the front end team and went 100% on the creative and the consulting services, that team slowly, the people churned through. They left to do other jobs or whatever, or they got promoted, and then they just were forced to become full stack developers. Quality of code just went way down. Like, just people became so reliable. Like, oh well, that's not built into Magento, so we're not going to do it. It's like, that's not an acceptable excuse. Like, the client's paying for it, and that's what they want. So go figure out a way to do it. I had to slap around C-levels to get them out of the code base. Ooh, that sounds bad. C-levels should not be in code. I mean, whenever we were in startup mode, and our teams were like, the whole company was like less than 50 people, like, yeah, I was in the code. My boss, the founder, he wasn't in code, but he would be on the Scrum calls for the big clients. But yeah, man, I don't know, full stack bullshit. Okay, let's go ahead and merge this, and then I'll review both things at the same time. I can't can't do this thing, this whole two thing at the same time. Is too confusing without the workflow guardrails. Sea level in the code base, man, that's some people need to let go. Okay, do a quick build of this. Place includes trackable building blocks for the engineering template. I also added a copy JSON button. Good. No, I believe it, man. I 100% believe it. I've been there. From being employee number one at a startup, and then growing that to 20 people, to being acquired, and then being employee number 4 at another startup and growing that to 500, and then being acquired into a company of 9,000. Like, oh, I'm sure we've got very similar stories. Okay, architect would be here, then a loop, and then a builder, and then it goes tester, then it goes QA, and then it goes reporter, and then it would go into pending. Excuse you? Okay, so Codex. Here is a screenshot of how I visually see the engineering template, and how I think a user would build out something that matched it. In it, you can see that the architect adds everything to the queued, and then the tasks that are in the queued column go into the loop, and the loop contains builder, which passes it off to tester, which passes it off to QA. Once the loop is complete, it then proceeds to reporter. Once reporter is complete, it then goes into the pending column. I don't know what we would visually represent after that, because we don't have an operations agent to handle the merging and all that kind of stuff yet. That's just something that is manually done. So review up to the point of things getting handed off to pending, to the pending column. Compare that to the JSON file that you generated based off of what the engineering template looks like, and let's discuss any changes that need to happen after that. Yeah. Okay, and then we need to check the modal. Okay, task overview, cool. Task created here, create a random markdown explainer about how caches can become stale, successful workflow steps, builder success. I actually can't actually. Then it goes to QA failed. Here's the report. Can I click on this? Okay, so I can view the report. Workstream, stale cache explainer, ADA cannot. Okay, so it can't find that. Merge, promotion, and push, publication, published, promotion, not promoted. Okay, so that's for that. What about What about you? You're successful. I don't know what that's doing. Report. Okay, can I look at you? Okay, you do show me that. So okay, so that's go ahead and create another work tree branch for the next steps. And then review the screenshot that I attached. These buttons don't appear to do anything. The only thing that it seems like I can click on is the report button at the bottom of the modal, which then launches a report file, which is good. And it follows all of the same stuff. However, it should just be what would that be? I don't think it should be its own thing. It should probably just launch the report modal that we currently have whenever we get a report and it lands in the notification drawer. We shouldn't be creating a new report modal. It should just reuse the one that already exists. So then that way I can discuss with the architect if I need to, or I can view the file differences, things like that. So just reuse the report modal that we already have versus launching a standalone piece. Okay. Yes, your visual model makes sense and exposes a real mismatch in the JSON up to pending. I think intended visual flow should be what the generate JSON currently gets right. Builder, tester QA inside a task loop is correct. Task loop to reporter is correct as a concept. Architect existing outside the loop is correct. Reporter being outside the builder is correct. What needs to change? JSON currently says reporter is in the pending column, but your visual has pending is the state after reporting, not where the reporter box itself lives. The JSON has pending to done, but that is really manual operator behavioral right now and not part of the visual agent workflow. We should probably move that out of the workflow transitions and into policy. I think what we need to do is there should be an architect box that lives on top of all of the Kanban files. And then that way I could add more architects if I wanted to. And then it implies that if an architect role is used, it would automatically go into the first column, which is the queued column. I agree with your take on the reporter in the in progress versus pending, because right now nothing goes to pending until the report is complete and delivered. Because there could still be a possibility of the report failing, which means it would not be pending. One thing that we should probably add then is a user action box that represents when there is an action that's needed by the user. I believe in the current engineering workflow, we do have room for there to be ask user questions, and then that blocks a task and its dependence. So we need to make sure that that is also represented there. I don't need the there. We'll just do that. Rooney is biting his nails. Rooney, is that about the stories that we could all tell about the horrors of corporate development? Tiki, I assume, are you if you're having to slap C levels out of Codebase, does that mean you're on an internal dev team, or do you do development for like a services company who would be a vendor to other companies? Internal dev team. Okay. See, I've only ever been on the services side, but dealing with clients. I've never been on the internal side of that relationship, which is a curse and a blessing. That clicks. Going to treat this as a visual contract update. Architect should live in a top line that feeds queued. Reporter should live after the loop in progress, and user action should become a first class box. Is that a Space Invader, Rooney? Or what was that? Was that Aqua Teen Hunger Force that had the Martians? The like pixel Martians? What a great show that was. Fucking hand banana. Also reset the default demo layout to match your screenshot more closely. Architect is in the top lane, the builder, tester, and progress. You've gone from core to core. I mean, So I mean, on the outside, or from like a services point of view, vendor. I mean, it's kind of the same thing of going from corporation to corporation, and learning the politics and the struggles of everybody's dirty laundry. Obviously, I probably only got like 80% of what really happens and how things worked. Maybe not. I definitely got how things worked, but the internal communications, um, that part probably only got about 80% of. But I would also be doing like 3 of them at a time. Um, and I mean, the good thing was is you'd get learnings from everybody, and then you'd be able to apply those learnings to everybody else. So I mean that was worth it. That part was cool. Um, but then some clients, you find out like some of the, like how their systems are actually set up, and these were big multi-billion-dollar companies. And then you find out how they're actually set up, and you're just like, holy shit, I give you money on a monthly basis. Oh my god. Um, I won't tell you what it was, but I did some work for Toyota. Uh, no, no, no. I would still buy a Toyota, but um, if you think in-car infotainment systems are terrible to use, I know the reasons why they are so bad, so bad. Okay, what I fixed. Modal report artifacts now treat both report and reports as report window artifacts. They route through the existing ephemeral spawner path, the same report window used by drawer report notification. Modal report opens now include Kanban source context. I think this all sounds good. Okay, so this sounds good. I haven't been able to review it yet. I think the next step that we need to do though is make sure that there is um, a more summarized version of the modal that is attached to the work stream. Maybe not summarized, but there needs to be more grouped things. So I should be able to see each task, and then each task will be collapsed inside of a work stream. And then there needs to be the button, obviously, to review the report for the entire work stream. Just keep in mind that if a work stream could include just one task, so it needs to be similar to what the modals are now. Implemented the visual contract. What am I looking for with this one? Let's see if I can actually read without my glasses for a little while. My eyeballs are cooked past couple days. Okay, workflow. Architect lives there. Cool. Builder, tester, QA, reporter. Okay, so if I wanted to say there's a QA that lives outside of the loop, And then user action is in the pending column, and upon the user action being successful, it would then move tasks to the done column. Okay, I want to drop that. Okay, so I made some updates to the editor inside the app. So I added the user action to the pending column, which would be similar to how today the user has to manually go in and decide to merge and or push to origin. So check to make sure that that representation in the JSON output is how you think it should be in uh, the workflow template. I also added something that's not a part of the engineering template, which is a QA agent that would live outside of the loop before reporting happens. And the idea here is that maybe a user wants to run all of the tasks through the loop. Everything gets generated, and then a QA agent would then QA the entire work stream as a whole to make sure that everything looks correct. And then only after the QA agent is successful does it go to the reporting agent. So review those changes as concepts and see if that makes sense. And if that was to be a real workflow, if that is how you expect the JSON to look. You should try using Kilo Code. What's Kilo Code, Rooney? I've never heard of Kilo Code. Do a little googly poo. Kilo Code. Kilo Code, open source AI coding agent. Is this basically just adding a CLI to your IDEs? Because that's kind of what it looks like. Full competency. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope so as well. There's obviously there's other people who are doing ADEs. Some that are really cool, some that are really flashy, some that are probably efficient, but I think the one thing that I'm focusing on, not with this app, but with what it will become with this. The thing that I'm going to be bringing is like actual usability. Not to like poo-poo on anybody specifically, but there's certain projects that are out there that you can tell were vibe coded by like a back-end developer, and they don't understand user experience and hierarchies and things like that. And I think that there's a lot of room for improvement there. Also, everything on mine will be local, besides obviously like Claude or whatever. I don't even want to deal with having. I don't want you sending me stuff to a server that I have to run because I don't know anything about keeping servers alive. Um, so I don't even want to deal with that. Yes, both concepts make sense, but the current JSON output is only partly representing them correctly. User action one is pending is directionally right for manual merge promote push decision. I would not treat that as the same kind of user action as ask user a question and block task dependence, though. Those are two different concepts. The bigger issue, the outside QA2 is not represented in JSON at all right now. The copy JSON only includes QA1 inside the loop and then goes straight. Workflow transitions from architect to queued, create task. From queued, task loop enters loop. Task loop to QA to after loop, QA to reporter after review, reporter. Okay. The outside QA should not go into workflow rules if workflow rules means the per task rule sequence. Otherwise, it would imply every individual task runs builder, tester, QA, QA. So I don't know if we need a block specifically for answer question. That could just be something that's baked into all agents, either built that get shipped with ADE or that a user creates. There should always be a little bit of um, agent handling, even if they're custom. Um, and if there's ever a question that for the user, that's just something that would always go back through the notification system where the user can then uh, add context or whatever the question is, and then that goes back to the architect, and then architect slash MCP handles the routing as it is today. I don't think that there's any reason why that needs to be something that gets customized. The manual operation gate, I think that's something that should happen. Should be allowed to happen, but right now it's more of a concept and not fleshed out. So go ahead and make those other adjustments to the generated JSON so that it better matches what we're trying to do. As far as the loops, it's correct that it needs to be represented that the reporter is only running the report after all tasks of a work stream are completed through the loop, and then the reporter runs. So that's what's implied by having a QA agent outside of a loop, is that the QA agent then would run off of the artifacts and context from everything that just went through the loop. So anything after a loop is not per task, it's per work stream. I'm not sure how we can represent that. We probably also need to figure out a way to represent task versus work stream as a concept inside of this flow as well. Okay, what are we saying over here? I feel like your work job history has given you a real lesson, and this is what people actually fumble with scope, which is part of yeah, 100%. Oh, the kilo code thing. This is free open source and has no token limit, which is pretty sweet for coding. Gets even more powerful when you set up your own agents and skills. I mean, it probably would be helpful, but I'm not doing any coding, so it doesn't really have any benefit to me. Like I have Sublime Text. That's the closest thing that I have for coding. I don't have VS Code or anything like that. So I don't know what I would. I don't really have a use for it. It's cool. But also, don't they have? Well, I guess you're saying it doesn't use any tokens, so that's why it's different than just adding Claude to VS Code or whatever. I guess that's the difference. I definitely see the benefit to that, but like I don't know code, so it wouldn't really help me at all. Um, I need to get this merged in so I can review it. Okay, so we'll let that dude cook. Was there anything I can do in Figma while we wait? I added the sprites to the columns. These guys are in here. I don't. That look better. It started to look like really messy with all the shadows. Yeah, that looks a little better. We'll swap all those out. I don't remember which one I did. Was it 2? Zero, 1, 2, 2, 6. Okay, yeah, so it was level 2. And background blur. Yeah, I think you nailed it, Tiki. Like I don't want to give away all of my thoughts on it, but and I definitely don't want to like start any internet drama, especially since I'm a nobody. Um, Speaking of which, go like and subscribe. Um, yeah, so I don't. I'm not really anybody. Um, I don't want to start any drama. Even if I was somebody, I don't want to start drama. But I just think that there's a lot of stuff that's like we're adding features to add features, and it's just like, but that's not really a thing. Or we're adding in this feature to replace this other thing, but the feature that you added's not as good as if you just used the thing that you're trying to replace. So I don't know. CLI versus MCP local tooling. I'm focused. Spiral of enshittification. Tell. Bro, I gotta. I'm saving that one. I might post that on X later. That right there is comment of the day so far. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Inshitification. Okay, roles inside the loop are scope, task, and stay in the workflow roles. Loose agent roles after the loop, like your extra QA2, become scope workstream and appears in workstream roles. Transition path now treats anything after the loop as workstream level. Task loop QA2 reporter pending. User action in pending now represents a manual operation gate like publish, promote, push, not ask user question block. Ask user questions are represented as baked in agent NCP policy, behavior routed through notifications back to architect, not as a draggable workflow block. Hidden canonical engineering workflow JSON was updated too, but its workstream roles is empty because its current QA after loop step is a custom workflow. Cool. Just to make sure, it's not anything that's after a loop. It's just anything that is outside of a loop is workstream level. Technically speaking, there shouldn't be a reason why a user couldn't have a second loop. That then goes and does other processes later on in the workflow. One example that I have is that there could be a loop that happens in the pending column. That makes it so that all pending work streams could get merged at one time versus the user having to do it manually. Just as a concept, that could be a possibility. Just confirm that that's your understanding and that that's how the generator and the JSON files react and represent. Okay, I'm gonna, before I send that off, go ahead and merge this to the drag and drop branch so I can review. And if I didn't say it, Tiki, you are not wrong. Not wrong one bit. Like, I will probably add a way to launch a terminal inside of the app. Technically, right now, the app can launch a terminal, but it just opens terminal and then changes you to the folder of the project that you're in. I'll probably change that to where you can actually launch a terminal inside of the ADE, but that's just because it's a terminal. Like, it's a terminal. I doubt I will have a built-in web browser. I will 100% not have a code editor. Like, if you want to go play in the code, go open up your IDE and play with the code yourself. There's no reason for me to bake that in. Okay, you're done. Okay, so we can go ahead and run you. We can build this and test. We'll just see how this is working. No. I'm the king of scope creep. That was literally my job, was to find ways to creep scope, because then that would turn into additional billable hours. Like, that was literally my job. Listen to the clients, hear what their complaints are, hear what their wants are, and then figure out a way to build them for it. That was literally my... That's what I was there for. But not at a sales level. Feel good to be at? No, because I don't have a paycheck now. So, that I would like to have a paycheck. Maybe not from them, not from the Sith High Lord Council or High Council, but maybe one day I'll get monetized. Yeah. Thank you. Fuck me, right? Okay, so this seems to be working good. Okay, yeah, check on this. That opens the reports modal. That looks good. We've got view changes. Hey, this is from yesterday. Hello, Tiki McFace. Discuss would send back to architect. I don't need to test that. I know that works, which means I probably should test it. Promotion not promoted. Which one is this? This is number 45. So, okay, so publication published, promotion not promoted. I need to find one that is not. That is not. Oh, okay. This is. So that needs to be. That needs to all be cleaned up, but that's fine. Work stream details to task reference pack. And then I've got a review report button here. Close. If I go and I look at an individual one. Okay, what are we doing here? What are we even doing? Close that. I'll review that later. Close that. Yes, I understand the correction. The rule is inside a loop versus outside a loop, not after a loop. The current generator, But one important caveat. The generator currently collapses all containers into one logical task loop. So if you added a second container later, for example, in pending, the current JSON would not represent. So conceptually, yes, I agree with you. Well, that's fucking good. Implementation-wise, we still need one more JSON model step before it fully supports that. Containers should serialize as explicit loop objects with their own ID, column, order, scope, and child roles. Then a pending column loop. Okay, yeah, I think you understand. So let's go ahead and make those changes. The only thing that I want to 100% nail down is that it doesn't matter where a loop exists. It's just that if a loop exists anywhere else, it is a loop. It's not something that is only in the in progress or in the pending or in the done or even in the failed column. If a loop is in a column, it gets represented as a loop and it should be universal. That's like I feel like that's like a solid 9 out of 15 prompt. Like that can't get much better than that. Okay, and then over here. Okay, so make a new work tree for the next steps. Go ahead, I'll just say that. Hey, Tiki, or Rooney, I don't know who would maybe be more appropriate to ask this. I have a question on databases. Are either of you knowledgeable about those? Knowledgeable in that area? Go for it. Okay. So everything right now, the way this works, the point of truth is a SQLite database. So tasks get created, handed to the MCP. MCP adds everything to a database. There's some other stuff that happens, but it happens in an SQL database. SQLs can't have like multi-write. Like it's if something is being modified in the SQLite database, it gets locked. So you can't have multiple things being edited at the same time. Correct? For the delay. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is all of the both for individual tasks as well as multiple tasks inside of a work stream. Every single row inside of the model has a button for the report. All of that needs to be taken out, and there just needs to be one report button that's global to that modal. And if a user clicks on it, then it opens the report. I don't need to see a button that launches the report 7 different times for each step in the workflow and for each task in a work stream. I just need to see one button, probably at the top where it talks about like there are 3 items or 3 tasks in this work stream. Not quite, but it depends on what level you're talking. If you use transaction-based edits, you will allow explicitly for concurrent edits. I don't think that I am doing that. So right now, whenever it writes to it, I'm pretty sure the Python-based MCP just makes that and then it locks it. I think I need to add a queuing system. So if there is a time where multiple writes are coming in or updates, whatever, are coming in, they get queued. Right now, they are. If that happens, I think there's I want to say it's like a 5-second retry window. And then if it doesn't get done in 5 seconds, then it fails. And right now, I don't think I have any way of knowing if anything is failing. Everything could be failing, and I have no idea. One idea that I was talking with Grok with was swapping out SQLite for, what is it, Postgres? But I'm thinking the queued system would be better. Oh yeah, I guess I could just ask. Smart guy. Side. Can you check for transaction coherence in the current database layer? Or do we not have that? See, this is where, as a front-end designer or a front-end developer and a creative director, my ignorance starts to come in. Yeah, that lock is begging for transactions with rollbacks, if I understand your problem correctly. You can absolutely implement a queue in SQL, though. Please feel free to ask me anything, man. I'm lurking, bothering you. Hey, man, I appreciate you lurking. Makes me show up a little bit higher on the Twitch thing or the YouTubes. One day I'll be brave enough to stream to X, but today's not that day. Wow, it did 2 things and now it has to compact. Great. Okay, generator now treats every container as a loop. Loop de loop. A second loop in pending now serializes as its own loop and chains after the first loop instead of being folded into it. Loose boxes outside containers remain workstream level stages. Okay, so we'll... okay, so this is almost done. We'll wait for that. Yeah, as far as PHP or databases go, I don't know much about database stuff. Once upon a time, I knew PHP, and I could do some database stuff there, but I had no idea what the database was all doing. I knew more about what the PHP was doing, but connecting it to the database and then doing stuff from it, that was above me. Go ahead and merge the work tree back to the drag and drop branch, and I will review. Boom, boom. Okay. Oh, you're not done yet. Okay, what are you saying here? No central transaction manager unit of work boundary or enforced all daemon mutations go through this transaction wrapper layer. A lot of write paths still use commit calls, complex operations like task claiming, mixed DB state. So I would describe the current state as connection coherence exists, transaction coherence is manual and uneven. It sounds like my shit is really fucking broke. Tiki, does this answer your question about how screwed I am? But just like, that's my opinion, man. I like it. I don't know if that's big enough for you to read, and then I just covered it up. Not broke, but definitely needs work. Word. Heard that. Fuck. Oh shit. Great. That's wonderful. Okay, let's review this. Create a markdown file that says hello Tiki McFace. Review report. Report launches. Cool beans. These don't do anything. I thought I told it it's probably fine for now. Merge and promotion push, commit, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's at the work stream. At the task level, okay, so this is an example, promotion not promoted. Merge to main, merge to main. Now if I look at this, publication, published, promotion not promoted, push not pushed. Why don't I have the ability to... Task details. Done. HUA, workspace 1, workstream, happy birthday, branch, blah, blah, blah. Why? Okay, so I don't have any stuff in it. Merge to main. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's being updated whenever when I make changes. Get this out of Boomer read mode. Make a new work tree for the next level of changes. Okay, and now we need to go check workflow. Okay, so builder, tester, QA, and it goes to there. So now we can put QA here, and then we'll do reporter, and then we can do user action and pending. And then let's say we would do another loop, and then we'll do let's just do this and send it along, see what it says. Okay, I made a bunch of changes in the editor. Review both the screenshot and the JSON and make sure that it represents what the generator is showing based on our last couple conversations about inside loop, outside loop, work stream, and task level stuff. Also, there's a bug where the JSON file takes up so much room that you can't see the bottoms of the columns, so that needs to be more responsive on the UI side of things. The columns should not be cut off, so they just need to scale to the size of the window, and then the drawer and the JSON block can sit underneath it. And if there's more stuff that is in the columns than the columns are tall, then the column should scroll. Also, we need to add in a custom agent tile to the drawer uh, so that a user could use something that is not one of the built-in roles. Go ahead and then compare all of this to the generated JSON file that you have that represents the engineering role today. Okay. And then over here, okay, what do we need to tell it? Okay, so there are a few things that we need to do inside of these steps for tasks. I'm still seeing a whole bunch of buttons for artifacts. Those shouldn't even exist. I don't want to see any of that stuff. If I wanted to see that information, it would be available to me inside of the report. Secondly, even if I did want to be able to see that information, whenever I click on that, nothing happens. Except whenever I close the modal, I then get an error message saying something about it can't be viewed. So there looks like there is some Z level fighting between the task and workstream modal versus error messages and things like that. So we just need to make sure that we're cautious of that. The second thing is I'm no longer seeing the report button for each individual task, but I'm also still seeing the report done as individual line items in the workflow steps for tasks inside of a work stream. That is not accurate as far as what's happening. There is no report that is being done at the task level. It only happens at the work stream level. So not only is it not needed, but it's not accurate as far as what steps were taken and when. So that needs to be corrected. Z fighting is a Swift UI problem. It's probably reusing sheet and full screen view modifiers and dealing with state. If I maybe so a presentation handler, probably. I was fighting with so the Z fighting problem is one of the reasons why I went back to I don't know if you would call it downgrading, but transitioned the drag and drop stuff from Swift UI to AppKit. Because I was having Z fighting issues. And that's part of the reason why I ripped it all out and now we're starting over and doing it in itty bitty baby steps. Oh, that was the other thing is we needed to lastly, if I click on the icon to launch the modal for individual tasks, I get a summary of information at the top above task overview. But I'm not getting that same type of information whenever I click on the icon to launch the modal from a work stream with multiple tasks inside of it. So that needs to be included for workstream modals. And then lastly, it does not look like the modal is being updated with information around merging to main and all that kind of stuff. If I open a modal and I look at it and and the task is not merged, it says one thing, and then I close the modal and then I click merge to main, and then the task card updates to say that it's been published. And then I reopen the modal, it still says the original information, so that needs to be updated so that the status is updated. Really fell off right there. Still owns, although it's sneaky bad at this 50 UI, it probably never will be a full replacement of UI kit, app kit. Yeah, I knew downgrade wasn't the correct terminology, but you know what I mean. That's a honker of a task, or as a prompt. Long columns are tall. Okay, so you've already made all of your changes. Review the screen. Okay, so let's close all this. There was one other thing that I needed to do. One other thing that we need to do before I review is if I close the main project window and a report window is open, it should close the report window as well. I don't want it to keep the project alive or anything like that. If the main project window is closed, all windows should close and return me back to the ADE welcome screen. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so that all looks dandy. Okay, so everything that you did here looks correct. The only thing that is off right now is that whenever I load up the workflow tab, everything is condensed into the top left corner. As soon as I change something on the board, everything snaps to full screen and fills up the whole tab body area. It needs to just be filling the whole body area up on load, so it doesn't freak out on the user. The next thing after that is we need to add a icon / toggle to each of the roles to denote if they are a visible role that would have a pane in the roles tab. There only needs to be, if I have two builders inside of the roles tab, that still acts as, oh shit, how does that work? Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Before you execute that code change, we need to discuss how having multiple role panes in the roles tab will work for the workflow. For example, the engineering template doesn't change just because I have 5 builder panels open. It still falls into that same workflow. So how do we keep track of that? I guess my initial thought is that a user could drop in a builder role into the editor and then they could say how many they want. So then that way additional parallel work could happen at the same time, but it doesn't change the workflow itself. The only time it would change is if they then have another builder card somewhere else in the editor. What are your thoughts and what are the complications that this realization just made? I don't know about that one. Yes, that distinction is important. So the engineering template can have one builder stage in the workflow, while the roles tab can have 1, 5, or 20. Well, let's be careful here. The workflow still says tasks enter builder, and then runtime decides how many builder instances can claim tasks in parallel. That means adding more builder panes should not duplicate builder in the workflow. It just increases concurrency for the existing builder stage. Where your instinct is right, because I'm a genius. If the user places another builder card somewhere else in the workflow editor, that is a different builder stage. The editor needs a small setting surface. Dropping a builder card should create one builder stage. That card can expose settings like concurrent count, model, runtime defaults, maybe agent name later. No 5 separate cards unless the user generally wants 5 separate workflow stages. So I think what you're saying is correct. The thing I want to make sure though is the current workflow, how a agent claims a task, does it, and then moves on to the next. That should still happen as it does today. if a user added an additional builder card in a different place after the initial builder card. It shouldn't add additional panels. It would just reuse that same builder slot that is available. From the previous one. The what that means though is that the number of concurrencies of a role has to be equal throughout the entire workflow. So if I add a builder card to the main loop, like there is in engineering, and then I say that there should be 5 builder agents, if I add a builder card outside of the loop, it will then also use 5 builder agents. And then this should also... We'll just say thoughts for now, and then we'll get its full response about how much of an idiot I am. Send that to you. Yes, I think that is the right constraint. It keeps the system much cleaner. So the model becomes role type owns capacity, workflow cards, or stage placements for that role type. Those eligible tasks could come from builder stage A or builder stage B. A builder agent can claim builder work, but the daemon has to decide which builder stage tasks are currently ready. The agent does not pick arbitrary stage semantics. 1 capacity control per role type. If the editor should not let builder 1 be concurrency 5 and builder concurrency be 2. That setting belongs to the builder role definition, not the card. Duplicate role cards are meaningful. A second builder card means builder participates again at another stage, not create more builder agents. Roles tab and workflow tab need to agree. Yes. Okay, so all of that is correct. As far as the custom agent stuff goes, yes, they would just be a custom agent type for now. And the user will be able to load them as different agents and then save them. But for now, I don't even want to worry about custom agents. I'd want to be able to just build what we're talking about. Something else, though, to consider: if, for example, I load up the shipped engineering template and I used the app to spawn in an additional builder agent manually, that doesn't change the workflow. The workflow is still what the workflow is. The MCP server just knows that there are 2 builder agents that can now pull stuff. So while yes, the roles tab and the workflow tab need to mirror each other, if a user manually adds new roles and agents, it should not automatically update the workflow. So there needs to be some sort of like layered system that understands that. Also, I want to make sure that if a builder is in one part of the workflow and then we have another builder tile in a second part of the workflow, they should use the same panes, which means they have the same name, but they should not be the same PID because they should be closing between each task, except for the architect. Done. I added the follow-up on the same review. Closing the main project window now closes project-owned report windows. It also closes report-launched ephemeral architect windows. It's not a thing anymore, but okay. The active project is cleared, so ADE reopens. Closing the window still quits as. Okay, so what did you do up here? The row level. When builder finishes task A, that process can close. Architects isn't. So a builder stage in two different places should resolve to the same role pool and the same available pane slots, but each actual task execution is a new process session. The workflow stage placement decides what kind of work is ready. The role pool decides which type of agent can claim it. Runtime state decides which live idle pane slot actually runs it now. The main complication this introduces is naming. So for the naming portion, because this will eventually be something that gets ran at project startup, the app can load the JSON file to know which panes it needs to load up with which roles, and then obviously which models and from which vendor. All of that will be saved inside of the JSON file, and then it would just get loaded up. And then at panel, when the panels are being created, the names are currently assigned, and then we can update that workflow document accordingly. If a user is opening a workspace that already has been loaded before and it's not a new workspace, then all that information would be already saved in the JSON file, and then it would just be read correctly. Do I understand that correct? Excellent prompting. Do we even need to store um, current session ID and current PID numbers um, in the JSON file? I don't think that we do. The only thing that we would need to change after runtime or at runtime is if a user added additional agents and assigned them roles, that should get added to maybe like a secondary file, the same way that we do agents, where there's the baked in role.md file, and then there's a custom md file that gets appended with the user's custom instructions. Maybe we should do it that way, so then that way the baked in templates don't get changed at all, and then there's just a piece that appends to it. That's something that we can do. Right, let's build this and check out. How does this work if a user created a workflow completely from scratch? Does it still become a saved template plus workspace overlay? Come on. This part needs some serious work. Okay. Okay, so this is looking way better. Go find a task. Okay, so that worked. Don't worry, I'll get back to you, Mr. Codex. Okay, so that part worked, and then removed all row level artifact buttons. Remove the stale artifact opening path. Added per task summary details inside the workstream modal task. You create another work tree branch to work on the follow-up pieces. Screenshot 1 is the header area for a work stream with a single task, and the second screenshot is the header area for a work stream that has multiple tasks. Is there not any way that we can surface similar types of information so that they are more that they mirror each other more? For example, I don't see anything about promotions or merging or pushing or anything like that in the work stream with multiple tasks. But that information is in the individual task view. Okay, I need to find. Oh, no, not you. I like need to create more. I need to create like an individual task. Generate an MD file that contains today's date. I need to actually, it's been like 24 hours since I've actually tested this. I don't even know if the workflow still works with all this JSON stuff. It said it didn't touch anything, but I don't know if I believe it. Okay, so this is cool. It sees this. Is it going to update this as it moves? That's an interesting thought. Okay, it's with tester. It did not update. When it moved from builder to tester. Or I guess, wait, builder success, and then it's on the tester. What's up with tester? Tester is just sitting there like a bump on a log. Okay, what did you say? Okay, go ahead and make all of these changes so that the JSON files can operate like this. Do not hook them into any of the actual workflow processes yet. Just still make them be reflect what the editor shows, but don't actually hook them up to anything yet. So we need to not drop things. We got to get this dude to finish up those changes. Then we need to merge them. And then I think I need to pause work on that, clean up all the work trees. And then we need to merge them to the drag and drop branch. Confirm that the JSON output is in a good enough place and everything is represented there accurately. And then we need to diagnose this the actual workflow problem. Why did Grok launch but then not pick up the task? It doesn't even say that it's not even here. It says tester. So it should I don't know if it means that tester has claimed it or if it's just done the handoff. I don't know what that represents. Removed all low-level artifacts. Oh, rolled up. Like, what the hell? What the hell? Okay, so you're done. What was I adding? So the header information, merging, blah, 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 is in the, okay, so this is all about the header information inside of the modal. Go ahead and merge to drag and drop so I can review. Design lifecycle section. Okay, workflow. Okay, so we're full size. That's good. Okay, we didn't need to add that as a to do. I don't really know what to test here. Yeah, I don't know what to test there. Okay, so this is a single task. CU. I look at a okay, random MD character cards merged to main. Okay, it's still not. I'm not seeing anything here. Okay, I'm gonna say that that's good enough now, except for those two bugs. So this is good enough to leave this for now. Go ahead and commit everything, and do not merge to master, but push to origin. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. The hidden workspace sample is ignored as local project state, so I'm not forcing heading it into version control. I'm committing to the source. Wait. Is the we're saying that workspaces is ignored, but are we ignoring similar things like agents, whether they're custom or shipped with ADE? Is that also ignored, or are we just treating workspaces differently for some reason? Real workflow templates overlays probably should not live under workspaces with them versioned or shareable. Can you add a to-do to review all of the ignored shipped files as well as the custom files as a to-do, both for workspaces, agents, policies, all that stuff, memory? We need to take a look at all of that. So this is now merged to the drag and drop branch. Can we go ahead and do a cleanup of all of the old work tree folders and whatnot so that the structure is clean? We don't need to hang on to all of that stuff. We don't need to stash it. It's just part of the branch now. I don't really understand work trees, but hopefully it does. Own explicit follow braiding this thread. 100% yo. So you know what it means. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna. Can you do a check on the Kanban modal ticket and make any updates to that document to let it know what we have added? And then also let me know what other stuff was attached to that item that we did not implement. Okay, where did... So while we were working on the workspace editor, template editor, I was doing some work with the Kanban board and the modal. I needed to run a sample workflow test, and this task that is pictured in the screenshot got locked up and refused to proceed. You can see in the modal that it successfully completed builder, but then in the background, the role that is on the task card says tester. Whenever I looked in the roles tab, Grok was the model that the agent was assigned, and Grok started, but then it never actually received a prompt and then started up. So can you review all of the logs and the information attached to this particular task, and so we could figure out what exactly happened? Okay, updated modal upgrade with it now lists what it is. It also now calls out what was attached to the main item but not implemented as final. Row level artifact button chips, task level report, lifecycle. Does that modal, did it do that thing? Retry, cancel task, close. Okay, so it did. It did do that. I don't know what else we need for this modal at this point in time. Because it'll all change whenever the UI gets replaced. Can you add to that document that we need to still need to take a look at information inside the modal being updated when things get changed on the Kanban board? I merged a task, and the information about being published or merged and all that kind of stuff, A, is not very clear, and B, it didn't look like it changed from before I merged it to after I merged it. So add that as a to-do item still for that modal upgrade. Pain behavior project DB and logs for task 46. One important update already. In the current DB snapshot, the task is no longer merely claimed. It has been marked failed at tester. The database also recorded a tester process started with PID 6148. I'm checking why it stopped before completing. The DB is pointing at a very specific failure mode. Tester claimed 46. Tester process was started. Then task failed at 52. Because the tester worker session stopped before completion, I'm checking the internal. Rock as a role is not globally broken. That's good news. Whether it differs from Codex and Codex OpenAI. So the task failed because I quit the app and later restarted it. So it forced it from in progress to failed. It says it got a report. It should just be dated MD file. The work cycle may be too willing to complete post works indicates. It is very weird that it generated a report for a failed task because the work stream definitely did not complete. So therefore, a report shouldn't have been ran. It should have just given me a notification in the notification drawer that the task failed. So something else is also wrong with how reporting is being generated, or at least how it's being labeled. Okay, so you did an investigation, but did you? But so after doing your investigation on the incident, do you have a plan to fix it? Question mark. Like, what do we do here, Mr. Advisor? Before you start doing any code changes, go and research the Grok CLI to see if it has the same capabilities that Codex and Claude have, and that we are using today to send prompts to. I want to make sure that this is something that is done universally for the vendor, for each vendor, as much as possible. I want to stay away from doing something that is specific to the Grok CLI. Hey man, thanks Tiki. Hope to see you again. Have a good day and have a good weekend. I'm gonna be wrapping up here pretty quick too. Local Grok CLI doc config first and current public docs issue if needed. I'll compare it against the launch mechanisms we already use for Codex OpenCLI and Claude. No code change. Wait briefly, then inject the task prompt into the terminal. Yeah, that sounds real bad. Runtime prompt delivery contract. Codex uses... no. We are not going to run those roles as headless and show a visible output. We're gonna leave them as is, because we've already been down that road and it did not work out well. If Codex is using a flag for prompt injection on startup, then we should go ahead and do the same for Grok, whichever is the most universal flag and parameter. Same for Claude. I don't want to change how Codex is working because it has been working, and so let's just do whatever Grok does. Whatever Grok needs. Well, if Codex isn't using it and then it's having the Swift driver send the kickoff, then why aren't we just using that for Grok? Can we check when the hooks fire? Could we use that as the trigger to have the Swift driver do the kickoff? Like, for example, does Codex and Grok fire off the hooks after they are ready, or only, or do they fire as soon as they start running? This fix just got way bigger. I don't like it. Excuse me? Oh, okay. That fires after is already running and asking for approval, so it's not. But I did not see the normal created session hook discovery sequence for that task. Well, if the issue was sent the prompt, if Swift sent the prompt before Grok had a usable session input service, a normal session store hook may not have fired soon enough or at all. My current take, do not make kickoff depend on runtime hooks yet. The cleaner fix is probably... Okay, guys, I don't really want to deal with this. I'm burnt out for the day, especially after yesterday's stream. I'm gonna converse with old Codex here and figure out what the best course of action is here. I want to keep this thing as universal as possible. So like if I could rely on hooks, that would be super swell. It's saying that we're only using permission request hook for Codex, and I know that that's not true. Because we're doing the green and purple glows on hook change. So I don't know what its deal is with only thinking we're doing it for permission. I need to take a good look at what the hell's going on here. This started whenever I ripped out Ghosty and replaced it with Swift Term. So I need to go back and review all of that information. But I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't know whether or not I'll stream any of that. I don't know. But we'll see. But anyway, thanks everybody who stuck around. Tiki and Rooney especially, thanks for stopping by, chitty chatting today. Carmel, it was good to chat with you for a little bit at the beginning of the stream. Hope you stop back by again. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys